to install a new font onto your computer, and also just to get it ready to make sure you can install it onto your phone through an app if you use your phone for things like social media graphics. So the reason, first of all, that you may want your own custom font is to do things like quotes. This is my Coho Digital Instagram account, and you may want to do graphics like this that show your custom font. Typography is a huge part of branding today. So I'm a brand specialist. That means I'm a brand consultant, and I'm a creative director. So I create brand identities, or I guide and empower entrepreneurs in creating theirs or working in with their current design team. So you really want this beautiful typography it's not unique to you unless you design your own type. But when you buy a font or get a license that's not just a normal kind of Google font or standard Canva font, you're much more likely to set yourself apart. You can convey the things you want to convey about your brand, which basically means you can talk to your ideal clients in a deeper way, because you're not just relying on the words you use, it's how you show those words. So you can put across more character. For example, you could convey things like fun, like energy, like the kind of seriousness, like more like a fluid, kind of flowing feel, or classical elegance. Very formal, very informal, all of those different traits can be conveyed just with type. So as I say, this is brilliant for Instagram, and it's also great for your website. So just to show you, this is my website example. So here we have an example of kind of standard fonts, because this is just a plugin. And then this is an image that I've done in Photoshop. You don't need to do it in Photoshop. You can use Canva and other apps. And then this is actually plugged into my website, so I have a custom font available, and the same as this one here. Both of these are custom fonts, and this is a Google font. So the first thing you need to do before you do anything else is understand how you install the fonts. So if you've gone and bought your fonts, you'll have zip folders much like these ones. So let me just move them here to make sure that you can see them. So you have a web license here, and this is your desktop one here. So I'm just going to show you the exact steps to go through to get those installed, which is step one before you do anything else. So the first thing I normally do is just create a folder. I use a USB for lots of my work, and I also then back up to Dropbox. I highly recommend working from the cloud as much as possible, because you can access it wherever you are. But I also use a USB so that when I'm using a program that needs me to have it downloaded on my machine, I can easily access it. So first of all, I'm just going to drag these into the folder here, just to make it a little bit easier, and let's make that bigger. So what we need to do is extract, because you can't work from within a zip. So I'm just going to take that off so that it extracts in the same folder. And then you just do it. So this is, I'm just right clicking with my mouse here. And I just like to have it all in the same folder. So I just take off that end bit there. And I'm then just going to delete my zip folders, because I've extracted them. I don't need those anymore. So if we go into web fonts, you've got a number of folders here, and you'll have your license agreements here. Go into the web fonts folder, and here you have all the various file types that you might need. Now, normally it's a TTF that you would need. So what you can do from here is, if you want to back up into a Dropbox folder, or you might have Google Docs or anything like that that you can access remotely. I've actually already done it, but you would simply just drag that across and drop it in. It's going to tell me, oh no, it's done it, weirdly. I thought it would tell me I had a duplicate, so perhaps I hadn't already done it. But you simply drag that across and make sure that's done. Now with the OTF, which is the normal folder, so you've got the .otf here, you need to install that onto your machine so that when you go into Photoshop or when you go into an app where you can look up your fonts, it can find it. It won't find it from this folder. It has to be installed into your fonts on your control panel. So if you, this is, I use a Windows machine here, I use a Surface. So assuming you're also on Windows, it's probably the same principles on a Mac. You need to make sure that's installed into the machine. So you would click on Windows here and just do a search for fonts. And here you can see it says Fonts Control Panel, so click into that. Now, if you have a zip folder for like Google Fonts or font families, you'll have way more than one folder here. We've just bought, this is for a client, we've just bought this one font. It's in a bold form, but if you buy a font family, you'll have regular, italic, you might have light, ultralight, bold, ultra bold, various different versions. So you may have like 20 odd or even more files here, in which case you just install all of them. So here I've got, these are all of the fonts that I've got on my machine. All you do is just drag that across. And you can see here that it's installing. And there we go, that's installed. So a great way to check would be just to use an application that you might use, and you can just check that you've got the actual font installed. I would need to just open a new document here. I'm showing you in Photoshop, but obviously you use whatever you normally would use. So you can see here I've got Laura, which is a Google font. So this one was called, okay, so we want to find S's. Now sometimes you need to do a restart. Which it looks like I may need to do. I'll just see if it's under H. Oh, there we go, Horizonte script. So there we go. So then this is the font. Let me just zoom in here. I've just opened from the last file size that I created. So Horizonte script. And there we can see I've zoomed in a bit too far there. So there you have it. So that's all you need to do to install the font, just to cover the basics. If you want to have it onto your phone, just make sure it's accessible. If you don't use Dropbox or another cloud provider, then you can email it to yourself, or you need to get it onto your phone in another way. So however you normally get images onto your phone, you need to do that. And it's the TTF version for your phone. Usually, and it's the OTF version for your desktop. You've also got your other font types here for your web fonts with your other extensions, so the WAFs, and that really depends on how you work within your website, within your CSS. Mine on my website is installed through a plugin, and I quite simply uploaded the font in through the plugin called Use Any Font, and this is a WordPress website. But this tutorial isn't covering that, it's covering the first step you have to make before you can do anything else to use custom fonts. So I hope you found that useful. I'm Kat Archer Underwood, and I run a boutique brand consultancy called Coho Digital.